What's going on, everybody? Welcome in. What's going on? I think tonight the chat is live, which is great news, or at least I'm hoping it's good news. I can certainly see more of you this evening, which is obviously bullish. So yeah, welcome in, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Definitely, I'm just gonna call it and say, look, we've got a lot to dive into this evening. A very specifically titled live stream. And I'll talk about why. Just FYI, the backdrop of this is I got stopped out twice today on 2 separate trades. Not for like crazy money because I've been setting my stop losses, but I even adjusted my stop loss. And the like wick of the day took me out, which is not really great if I'm dead honest. And it wicked me out and hit my stop loss by $23. Which is insane, and then obviously it's gone the right way that I assumed it was. But anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit longer, which again just aligns to my thesis right now that, look, I know people seem to be overly bullish. All I see is people talking about reversals, the bottom's already in, the Bitcoin bull market cycles going to the moon, you know, all this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, okay, let's dive into it. Let's understand if that's the case. Have we, which is possible, by the way, I'm not saying that we can't miss it, but have we potentially missed the bottom? All right, let's talk about that, because just FYI, by the way, before anyone like starts freaking out and subscribing, all that kind of weird stuff, I don't believe we have. All right, I'm just going to say that. So I'm in altcoins still. I haven't done anything. I'm still kind of where I need to be with all this stuff. So yeah. All right, so we're going to get into it. It's going to be good. All right, what's going on, Mark Noby? Good to see you. Hugo's in the house. Welcome in, everybody. As always, do me a quick favor, smash up the like button to run your all-time high. If it's your first time here as well, definitely consider subscribing to the channel. Highly recommend it. It is worth it. We're here every day, with the exception of Saturday, trying to break these markets down, keeping you very much dialed in and hopefully keeping you on track with what is going on. And like I said at the minute, it is pretty wild out there. So, TikTok, you guys come over here and watch what's going on the screen. And yeah, big news, by the way. I don't know if you guys know this, but Haley Welsh is back. Hey, hot tour girl is back, but not in crypto, by the way. She is pursuing other alternative means of raising money through activities that maybe you could pay for in crypto. Let's call it that. All right, let's call it that. By the way, that was deliberate. It wasn't like I just randomly was looking at a picture of Haley Welsh. But anyway, more on that in a completely different live stream for a different age group. All right, let's talk about Bitcoin then. Let's talk about what's going on in the crypto markets. So, Bitcoin today, we talked about this yesterday, if you remember. We put this, we put this wedge pattern in, didn't we? And we said, hey, BTC broke out of this big wedge yesterday. We obviously had that big rally up, even to the point where I think some of us were kind of watching this late on into the day. And we got shut up, Mark Noby. We got Bitcoin just wicked like crazy. So I was short BTC last night. And yeah, I mean, we wicked up heavy on there and it just ended up getting stopped out, which is kind of annoying, but look, it is what it is. And then today I was like, oh, maybe we continue the move. Didn't feel super crazy in the morning. Asia was reasonably flat, nothing sort of, really setting anything light, to be honest. And then I thought, well, okay, we've broken out of this particular pattern here. So this tells us that, look, the assumption would be we've got a little bit more upside to come as we break out of this pattern. We're potentially going to retest the 20-day exponential moving average, which we did. And I was like, all right, cool. Well, that feels like a pretty obvious, pattern play out. The sort of M pattern, the double bottom pattern, which generally can lead into a more bearish sentiment. So I'm like, all right, cool. So then I thought, well, I'm just going to short this market. This market feels like the right thing to short, in my opinion. And I was in this world of going, well, this is obviously just difficult because you don't really know what you're getting. So I was like, okay, well, if it breaks back under this channel, that would break the 20-day EMA. I'm like, all right, cool. Well, that probably feels like that would be a short opportunity. So I took the short thinking, yeah, that's going to be great. It literally just wicked all the way back up and stopped me out by fucking $24, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, so we're down about 500 over the last 24 hours, which isn't particularly great, if I'm honest. But hey, it is what it is. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. You got to just try and see what the patterns are. But that did get me thinking, with all the stuff going on with Jane Street, like, how legitimate is this market right now? And I don't mean that it's full of scammers. Chris Moore says the bull run is back. I don't mean it's full of scammers. I don't mean it's all like super weird, but it is weird. It is weird. This move made no sense yesterday. And you could say, well, Jane Street's suing, being sued by Terraform. Maybe, all right? Maybe that's a big catalyst. Didn't really do anything today. So we got the market dumped today, exactly as if Jane Street wasn't even in existence and all that kind of stuff. And, all these people that are sort of like super now bullish again on the market, I'm like, something doesn't quite feel like it's adding up. So I want to walk through some of the things I've been looking at that, in my opinion, and my opinion only, is telling us that this market's still bearish. Sentiment is still bearish. And albeit some people are bullish, I think it's bullish out of naivety as opposed to logic. So if you are super bullish on this market, please do drop your chat, drop your comments, give us a view. I'd love to know why. There's no hate here. Everyone's 100% entitled to their opinion, and I actively encourage people to have a difference of opinion to me. But yeah, I want to kind of just dive into it, and then we'll sort of come to the end of the show and say, hey, where do we think we are? Do we think we are in a more uptrend, favorable? Bottom had already come in down here, which wouldn't be crazy, that wouldn't be the craziest bottom, but it sort of doesn't make any sense that this ends up being the bottom. Just my personal opinion on all this. Bull is back if you can see through the weeds. Chris Moore. I mean, give me some more, mate, honestly. And again, I want to be really transparent with this. So I still hold spot positions. So if the bull run is back, great. All I'm looking for is an entry on a long trade right now. That's kind of it. And obviously my sentiment is, well, my entry in a long trade is down here somewhere, which means that I am still bearish on the market pushing down. Hence why I'm trying to short the market every now and then. But look, if a long opportunity presents itself, then I'll take that as well. But we'll see. Years ago when it crashed down to 3K, they said it would go lower. It didn't. That's true. That's true. But we'll talk about some of the reasons why I think we could go lower. And I think one of the really obvious ones that a lot of people are neglecting is that Bitcoin has pushed down to this price while the stock market's still rallying. What happens when the stock market crashes 4%? You think Bitcoin's not going to be affected? No way on this earth, Jose. Bitcoin will take a dump. BTC didn't technically test the 200 daily MA on the 60K drop. I see it happening this year. We have a bearish 2026 to contend with as TradFi equities are due a correction eventually. Well, we're going to talk about that. I literally have that exact stuff. The debt maturity wall. We're going to talk about that tonight because, again, that is a very important point. Like I said, that so many people are simply neglecting. Casey, thanks for the heart, me man. Appreciate it. So I do want to get into that as well. And we've talked about repo debt as well. And obviously this AI bubble, CapEx spending, all of that. I don't want to get too much into it, but we definitely are going to get into that whole, debt wall stuff that's coming. So I went a bit off a tangent then, so apologies. All right. Absolutely the bearish. If Bitcoin gets above the weekly 50 MA and the daily 200 MA on the daily candles, the trend changes. Charts rule BTC well under at the major indicators. There we go. David is all about it. So again, when we look here at the price on BTC, yes, we've got a little bit of a breakout here. It doesn't look like the strongest breakout. Equally, like I said, you've got a couple of interesting tests here. So we came back down on the 1 hour candles here, retested the 100-day EMA, so the 100-day moving average, but then did obviously bounce back to the upside. So you've got a real bit of volatility between the 20 and the 100-day at the minute. But, my sentiment here is, look, I still think this feels bearish. So we got a breakout, big volume support coming in above this trend line. We sort of didn't come back and retest it. We've obviously been above the 20-day EMA here on the hourly chart, which tells us that, look, we're probably going to go up. History tells us when you trade above the 20-day EMA, price continues to rally to the upside. What do you notice here, though? You notice here that we rejected the 20-day EMA here on 2 specific points. So my assumption would be, and again, I could be wrong if you just sort of, take it for what it is. But my assumption is that, I think price comes down while we're bearish under the 20-day EMA. Now, what are some of the catalysts that could change it? Well, we could get an insane PPI result tomorrow. We could get some big news coming out of Asia that they are going big on Bitcoin. But I think this is a deliberate move. And I think there's a definite argument here on the back of Trump's speech and kind of when you see some of these big corporations, what they're all talking about, that, I don't know, it just all feels a little bit like we're building up to a big liquidation event on longs again. That's just my personal opinion. Like I said, I'll break it down and sort of talk a little bit more about it as we sort of go through here. So BTC, in my opinion here on the 1 hour, definitely feels bearish. I expect to push down, maybe get a retest at 67.1, which again would align perfectly that my trade would have been perfect. If I had just moved my stop loss by $24, I'd have still been in this trade and now been in profit. But hey, look, sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. Paul says, hello everyone, I'm back, very busy day. How you all in the chat? Hey bro, is the stream fixed? Yesterday it didn't allow. Yeah, the YouTube, I posted it in the Discord. It was a YouTube problem, not a me problem yesterday. So good news. Good news. All right. So here on the hourly chart, we're definitely in this world. Okay. 4-hour chart on BTC. I mean, you decide, but I mean, that's bearish if you ask me. You're starting to potentially get a downward trending, downward sloping trend line here. Downward sloping trend line. What am I talking about? The flipping heck is going on? You're definitely sort of getting this kind of descending wedge pattern that's coming in. So, you'd argue here off the top that, on the 4-hour, this is bearish. So look, again, you might get some price activity out of here if we get a break back up. Doesn't feel like it though. It feels like BTC is probably going to come down, retest this lower range at 67.1. Maybe you get a small bounce back to the upside, retest this downward trend, and then down to Goblin Town. Maybe, just my opinion. But they're on the 4-hour, and then look, 12-hour is holding just. So the longer time frames, you could argue maybe we're in a slightly better place. Maybe. I think it's pretty like, I think it's pretty bleak, but holding the 618 Fibonacci at 67,126. So look, a couple of key things. If we break down below this 67,126 line, my assumption is, probably 66.5. I think we break by nearly $1,000. You could see that on the 4-hour, which means we probably end up rolling over as well. And we sort of then turn bearish as we walk into tomorrow's PPI, which, by the way, looks pretty favorable if I'm honest. So that's my opinion on BTC. We will come back and look at these charts because they align to some of the stuff I want to talk about as we sort of walk through, the next sort of hour and stuff as we're here. Viva La Bacon's here. Hidden says, Beebs, that situation hasn't even got bad yet. Beebs says, I don't think we're out for the clear with the US and Iran tensions. Are they in Geneva at the minute? I feel like I heard something that the US and Iran officials are in Geneva talking about the nuclear stuff. I feel like that's what I've heard anyway. I may be wrong, but hopefully I'm not. But yeah, anyway, Viva, what's going on, bro? So that's where we kind of sit on BTC. A couple of other things to think about. 2.3 trillion overall market cap down. Again, no surprise given the day where we are. So less bothered specifically about this indicator. Altcoins didn't quite get us hit. 0.8% here on the altcoins with the exception of BTC, Ethereum, and stablecoins removed. So holding up okay. Still trading within this very interesting range. But again, if you sort of look at where this, if you kind of look at this, it is bearish. We are definitely in a downtrend. So, people can tell me all day long, oh, 2-bit, you're being super bearish right now. We are trending down. Doesn't mean that we, can't wake up. Doesn't mean that we can't, see some sort of momentum here. But my opinion, definitely going down a little bit further. Quick blast through some alts. ETH holding above 2,000. Probably does need to hold that range, I'd argue. Might give us a little bit more sentiment. Rejected on the 50-day EMA, but, look, where are we at right now? Probably a key level. It just needs to hold 2,000. If it doesn't hold 2,000, you can see here, look, this real lack in the VPVR indicator. So next price range would be around 1983. If we can hold that support level, which is probably where you're talking about, align that to probably a little bit. It's probably somewhere like there, isn't it? That would be where you'd be looking for as a point of resistance, maybe even a dead cat bounce off that range. So ETH kind of holding up right now. Some of the old ones, Cardano, no surprise, coming back down. I mean, literally no surprise. I mean, we were talking about these ranges the other day. I don't know if they're even going to play out, but yeah, not so much really. But yeah, Cardano wicking down right now. I think this will probably come down a little bit further as well. So worth being mindful of here. Where can we see Cardano? Look at this. So lots right now testing the 2.8 and the 0.5 Fibonacci on here. So, I definitely expect, in my opinion, some little push downs here. And then look, the rest of the market, you've got a few. Junction, sort of touched on that a little bit the other day. I haven't really done anything with it. You got XDC up 1.4. Still does feel a little bit like a dark horse, doesn't it? I'm trying, Tim. Does feel like a dark horse, XDC. One maybe to keep your eyes out for. I know a few of you guys were pretty bullish on it. Hype, once again, up 1%. Another one that we've been talking about. Canton, up 2%. Retesting the upper range here on Canton. Don't fade Canton. It's looking bullish. So, yeah, nice breakout there on Canton. Wicked perfectly up to that upper range. Did get rejected and then came back down. So, look at this structurally. Well, two things to look at. I know TikTok is a bit more difficult for you guys to see, but structurally, like people say, like I say, well, I'm not the biggest fan of TA. I don't necessarily think it's like the be all end all. But I've been funny, but look how much we fucking nailed this TA though. Like, look at it. So we wake up here, we get rejected absolutely perfectly on the line we said. We come down, perfectly retest the line that we had. I mean, you can't even find a gap between that, bro. That is that clean. Look at it. Look at it. So Canton actually looks pretty good, in fairness. Not gonna lie. I think Canton looks pretty good. So yeah, Jason, it's definitely not a good idea to come in and just type 3 messages. I don't know what you're used to in terms of live streams, but I will answer that question definitely. And unlike other live streams, I love interacting with the audience. What's going on, Fairground? So sit tight and I will definitely answer it. The short answer is no. Short answer is no at this moment in time. So yeah, what you are seeing though is restrictions from banks. So especially in the UK, they are restricting deposits from banks into crypto exchanges. So that's kind of what's going on at the minute. It's like a weird way of, the banks just playing silly sods. But yeah, anyway, Canton looking pretty good. The rest of the market, Goblin Town. Gold. We touched on gold yesterday. It's holding up just as it broke out of this channel, but I don't give it a lot of optimism, okay? I definitely could see this certainly rolling over, coming back down. Yes, we broke out of this channel, but looking pretty good. Silver, no surprise, starting to come back down as well. So expect these two. By the way, futures opening are negative. So might be some volatility, by the way. Might be some volatility as we walk them there. What's going on in the stock market? Look, stocks look okay. Again, not super crazy. Nvidia takes an enormous dump as they start to say they're going to be selling loads of chips and all sorts of crazy stuff. Oracle, we touched on Oracle the other day. Definitely feel like that is an undervalued one, and then Meta feels like they're going big in terms of additional spending. So that's kind of where we sit. Pretty bearish if you ask me, and I think, like I said, Bitcoin, in my view, doth roll over at some point. Sound like agreement coming in yields? Yeah, well, March the 1st is what we've heard for stablecoin and the Clarity Act or the Market Structure Bill. Essentially, that's when sort of Trump said, look, this needs to be put through. So, take it what it is. Centrifuge did 195% move last night. Of course, it pulled back today. I mean, yeah, look, the whole market was going to pull back. You remember I said it yesterday. You can do a 10% move. It's what the day after is always about. You pump 10% one day, dump 10% another day. It's a bit of a waste of time. It just tells you the market was incredibly manipulated. So, look, the fact BTC is only down about 1% on the back of a solid move yesterday. Oh, great. Okay, cool. Obviously, at the minute, we want the price to come down, which is kind of weird. But at the same time, I only want it to come down to wick into this trade, and then we'll be good to go. We'll be good to go. Clarity Act, it's all good, mate. It's all good, Jason. You ask as many questions as you want, bro. Just don't repeat it. Like I said, I will always try and answer as much as I possibly can. iCryptoMark, what's going on? Yeet. Hidden Bulls in the house. Well, says, I don't understand why XLM didn't take off. Many people, including myself, use it to transfer between exchanges. Very useful. Yeah, I mean, I think the trouble you've got with it is, and don't take this the wrong way, it's just not sexy, is it? Like, people just don't think XLM is sexy at all. It's a bit like XRP, really. It's like, it's not sexy. People are just like, oh, yeah, well, it's just XLM. It's not cool. It's like Canton's cool. Monero is not cool. It's kind of that narrative, really. I actually think XLM is a very cheap transactional blockchain to use, but, lots of people just don't agree with me on that. Ondo pushed down 4%. Pretty wild if you think about it. So, it's like I said, overall market is pretty flat. We'll come back and take a look at the charts in just a minute. Again, we could sit here all... Paul Bar Network is reporting on what I'm saying. Really? What are you saying? It sounds like an agreement coming in, yields not getting paid. XRP is sexy. XRP is sexy, bro. Exactly. What coins will pump the hardest after the Clarity Act? Ondo. I mean, it's not really an act for those particular coins. I mean, the broader market will probably get a bit more favorable. It's not necessarily the act that's going to be a good news story. It's what it allows and entails. It essentially means that banks can go in custody, but we'll touch on banks in a minute and also what they've already been doing, because some of them are front running this. But it's not necessarily the act. It's what it allows. It's what it empowers. You think about it that way, banks can and will most likely custody stable coins and probably offer a yield. I mean, this is the kind of crazy bit that I think a lot of people are neglecting with this Clarity Act. Is like, well, the banks are whinging that they can't have staking, they can't have yield. The banks will just go and buy loads of stable coins and use it to get yield. Like, it'll just end up being some sort of mess, in my opinion, by the way. Anyway, right. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about why I think this market still comes down, which I think is important. And compared to, yeah, it is, absolutely. Let's talk a bit about that. And let's talk about why the market right now is probably misplacing the sentiment. And why I put on the thumbnail, by the way, be careful, because these are the times that I think you end up with loads of people FOMOing in. Now, I could argue and say I FOMO'd a couple of trades, but I was shorting them. I'm shorting the market right now. I'm not longing it at all. And yeah, I just got stopped out by a couple of them. But if I was to look at, just as a preface to before we go in, looking at something like, where is it? Here we go. Perfect. This is exactly what I wanted. I mean, this is like the stuff dreams are made of when you have a theory and a hypothesis and you can somehow prove it. So we've been talking about this for ages. This is the retail holders with under 100 BTC and the balance change over the last 30 days. What do you notice here? What do you notice? Well, you notice this massive skyrocketing demand from people with with smaller wallets buying a shit ton of Bitcoin. All right, no surprise, is there? This is the point. And I think, and obviously, look, it's easy just to kind of sit here and say, well, I think they're all wrong, and I think it's all been set up deliberately, and I think it's all a scam. I'm actually going to sort of walk through some things where I think it's going to be proven. But short-term holders are buying back. Now, remember, generally speaking, you correlate with buyers selling with dumping price and buyers buying with price moves back up. The crazy bit is obviously that it's moving based on like 48 hours, a little bit of Trump's State of the Union speech, and the potential that actually we get the market structure bill next week, PPI data, some favorable jobs data, albeit today wasn't favorable. We actually saw the negative jobs increase by over 4,000. So, you know, that's the preface. So what have we got going on? Well, sentiment is terrible. Now, I know what you're thinking. I can't see it too bad. I'm on my phone. What is this? This is new YouTube views over the course of the last few years. You can see here back in 2021, everyone was like super, super bullish. Markets are crazy. Everyone was like, oh my God, we need to FOMO into Bitcoin because it's the best asset on the planet. I'll move you back over here, TikTok, just because it's just because you need to see my face. So, yeah. Now, interesting enough, I'm not on this list. Now, I'm not saying I should be nice, but I mean, when you got BitBoy Crypto on there, it's like, well, I mean, he's not even putting content out anymore, so he's kind of a little bit uneasy. But anyway, whatever. Not that I'm going to lose any sleep over it. But what you can see here is a steadily decline in BTC. Even last year's bull run, no one cared, right? No one cared. So when you see all these like comments and these statements and all these things right now where people are like, bull run's back, crypto's going to the moon, everyone's got it wrong. It's like, no, they haven't, because the core sentiment is still garbage, right? It's still garbage. So this is kind of one of the reasons why I believe that, yes, BTC price is going to come down, because you've got this narrative that's been pushed that is essentially just nonsense, all right? It's nonsense. I got rich on Memecoins. Nice, bro. Shout out to you for getting rich on Memecoins. And the other bit as well, by the way, and why I think the market will push down, is that you've got loads of big money trying to get in, right? Loads of big money trying to get in. And we've looked at this from, ETF funds, from other kind of big corporate entities that are trying to get into these markets. So they don't want price to go up, all right? They don't want price to go any higher, because if they did, then that means that they have to pay more money. And the point here is, right? One I can't spell, which is kind of been kind of annoying, but at the same time, they don't want this price to push down, because obviously they still, in my opinion, want to get back in. Why do they want to get back in? Because look, they've got the opportunity to do it. Don't forget, the new tax season starts. This means people have a little bit of different balance sheets. Why we want to dump into March? Because why not? That means we can write taxes off. All right, important. Brit Boy says, what I intend to DCA until later this year is BTC, Sol, ADA. Decent. I don't think they're bad choices at all. But how do we know that big money's coming in? Well, look at this. Antelope Enterprise just launched its genius plan with $1 million Bitcoin purchase, framing the current market conditions as a strategic entry opportunity. All right. Pretty interesting, by the way. Just to give you an idea, this company is a pretty big company as well, by the way. Floated on the stock exchange, and they are actually up a significant amount. You know, not super, super crazy, but they market cap of nearly 10 million as a company. So it is listed on the stock market. So great. Hey, they're going to buy $1 million worth of Bitcoin. As they said, their words, remember, not mine, that they frame the current market conditions as a strategic entry opportunity. All right. Pretty interesting, if you ask me. Pretty interesting. You also get the recent list from ARK Invest. ARK Invest saying that, look, this is where we predict markets are going to go. This is where we think. Remember this? Does everyone remember this? Before the 2025 kind of move came in, there was all these things going around like Kathy Wood. Oh, well, our price prediction for 2030 is $1.3 million. Michael Saylor's like, we're going to 300,000. Tom Lee, oh, it's going to the moon. Now all of a sudden everyone's like, oh, guess what, guys? It's going to be $1 million by 2023 or by 2030. It's got to be careful. The ARK assumptions are applied to active supply. Again, you can see what that looks like from a digital gold institutional investment. These are what they believe people are going to be buying in. $500,000 is the bear case for 2030, assuming that you have active supply, bear case assumptions. 2030 price targets with a base case assumptions of $1.2 million. And finally, the bullish case. Everything goes to the moon and everyone's buying Bitcoin because why not? The 401ks have got absolutely demolished by Trump's administration. 2.4 million. But again, this is where I think, I feel like I'm playing 4D chess here because they're all going, yeah, Bitcoin's going to the moon. It's going to be $2 million. Like, oh my God. Retail's like, oh, I need to buy more Bitcoin. And I just think it's a bad news story. I think they end up getting wrecked. And I think this is what we were talking about. We talked about yesterday. And we'll take a look at it because I think it's important. They'll be building liquidity on the longs. The longs will start loading. And it wouldn't surprise me one bit if we don't see a relatively solid days tomorrow. Maybe we get a little bit of upside momentum. We'll have a pretty flat weekend. It'll pump Sunday night because Saylor announced he's going to buy some Bitcoin. Tom Lee's probably going to buy some Ethereum. And then I think we get a nuker of a day next week. I just feel like that's what's happening. Maybe that ends up pushing down. I actually think the push down is probably going to be over the next 8 weeks, which I've said a couple of times before. So, yeah, worth thinking about. All right, we'll touch on where we believe, lots of these trades are set up and, where leverage is. But, right now, the markets are super greedy and expecting that there are going to be some significant moves. So, yeah. 20K is possible if you assign a probability function like quite low, but not zero. Yeah, I mean, 20K is, 20K is 100% possible. Like, that isn't even a debate. Is it plausible that it gets to 20K? I don't think so. I would be shocked if it dips below 50. If I'm totally dead honest, I would be very shocked. If you've got big corporations right now, ETFs was like $180 million yesterday, that are buying at, 65, 66, 67K, I don't see how it gets to 20K. I don't think it gets to 30K because I feel like, scratch the heart for 2-bit. Thanks, mate. I think that they buy it beforehand. But yeah, interesting. The ARK is now sort of calling this. You've also got the Trump Media Group. I mean, this is kind of wild. And I don't want to go too much into the Drain Street thing. Lots of people have talked about it. There's a video on my channel that walks through a little bit of some of the stuff they're doing. You can't really, this is the thing. People are like trying to prove Jane Street dumped on it. It's difficult to do it, but there are some things that, things that I talked about, things that I researched last night that I don't think a lot of other people have got, a lot of other people are talking about. So I would definitely recommend, if you haven't already seen it, to go and watch it. It is worth your time. And I think it's only about 7 minutes as well. So go and check it out. It's this video here, look. So just walks through kind of what they're up to, what they've been doing, and all that kind of stuff. And might just give you a little bit. While you're here, by the way, if you want to become a channel member, just click that join button, get access to our free premium Discord as well. All right, good. So where were we? So Trump Media also accuses Jane Street and other firms of illegal naked short selling. I mean, this could end up being a bigger thing than it might be, but the TMTG CEO Nunes wrote a letter to the NASDAQ saying our 4 firms were responsible for over 60% of the extraordinary trading volume in DJT shares, suggesting evidence as manipulative activity. We'll see. Someone says, hey, too bad I've been hyping your shorts. Just saying, bro, thank you so much. I need to get some more shorts back out there, in fairness. I need to do that because I haven't done it, if I'm honest. I need to do it. Cool. All right. But yeah, in my previous letter, I explained that serious anomalies surrounding the trading of DJT stock. I also described DJT's constant appearance on the NASDAQ Reg Show threshold list for April 2nd, 24 through to June 24 as a result of persistent failure to deliver the FTDs of DJT. They are strong indicators that DJT may have been subject to illegal naked short selling. All right. It's about to get spicy. All right. Definitely about to get spicy here with the Trump Media platform. Maybe they're, maybe they're trying to cover things. Maybe they're not. So again, this whole, it feels like a lot of stuff's trying to be pinned on Jane Street. It's like, oh, they've been dumping on the market. They do it for years. They got banned from India. They've deleted all their tweets. Like, it's all sorts of crazy shit's going on, okay? All sorts of crazy shit going on. Just definitely take a look at it. But what is worth noting here as well is that actually the amount of capital inflows to Bitcoin for the previous cycle was the biggest we'd seen. It doubled year on year. So we've gone from 86 to 388, from 388 to 742. The assumption would be if we continue at that growth rate, the expectation would be something around $2 trillion flowing into the crypto, specifically the Bitcoin price, for the next big bull run. So, those people I think that were saying, well, this might be the last big bull run. It might end up being like, that's it. Feels like this next one may be the time when institutions just go, yeah, it's now or never. We got to get in. And don't forget, that would still be in Trump's last year in office. Whether it would be interesting, I don't know if you heard the State of the Union where he talked about Marco Rubio potentially being a successor, or JD Vance, both of which own crypto assets, both of which are very much pro Bitcoin as well. So, maybe a kind of thing. But, you think about this as a capital inflows bit. Next bull run could be big news. And you'd say, well, hold on a minute. Do it. You're telling us it's going to be a disaster. Yeah, but this is my point. This is the money that's going to come in, with the exception of retail. The big thing this 2025 bull market cycle missed was retail investors. So capital inflows, they're going to keep pushing it. They're going to keep buying and keep driving the prices higher. Just to give you an idea of what that looks like, by the way, look at some of these statistics. 60% of the top US banks are building Bitcoin products. Pretty wild. 90% of Barron's top 50 RIA firms have a Bitcoin allocation. They're things like Northern Trust, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, Citibank. I don't know if you've seen recently, Citibank have cited that they are offering Bitcoin products and will basically be allowing customers to use Bitcoin. Like, it's fucking crazy. 2,000 US advisory firms are allocating to Bitcoin ETFs, and over 52% of the top 25 US hedge funds have Bitcoin allocations. BNY Mellon, US Bank, you got Vanguard, we know about, American Express. All of these are all in the markets right now. And what's interesting is kind of how quickly we've gone from nothing to something. And I think this kind of just continues to build into what will hopefully be another pretty epic bull run as we sort of walk through the course of the next 12 months. Titan of Crypto aligning here says Bitcoin time for a relief rally. This is probably what it is playing out. Is this the relief rally that we get? Is this the leg down? I mean, Daniel K giving us a view saying, look, we've definitely got a further push down here in the market, aligning exactly to what we've been talking about. The relief rally, down we go. And if you look at kind of where this pattern plays out, what do you notice between here? Obviously, I can't really draw on it, but you notice something here that is similar to where Bitcoin is as well. So if we go to the daily charts here, we have to zoom out. Although, what have they got on there? Sorry, what time frame have they got on there? They've got it on the weekly. Let's just put our chart here on the weekly. So, you look at kind of this pattern that's playing out. So we test the bottom, we then get the relief rally up to the top of the range, we then get the push back down with the right hand shoulder before we push all the way down to the bottom of the bear market. Now, you'd argue we go lower, but, this kind of feels like where we are. Well, what do you see here? We sort of get the left shoulder, we get the head, although elongated, we get the right shoulder, and then we get the dump to the downside. So again, this kind of whole concept that we've been talking about, this whole idea, aligns pretty much to what Titan of Crypto is saying, and equally Daniel Kahner giving us a pretty bullish view here that, look, BTC is going down. And even Matt Hogan himself, remember Matt Hogan is the CIO of Bitwise, says the conspiracy theories are wild. First it was Binance, and then it was Wintermute, and now it's an unknown offshore macro hedge fund, and then it was a paper Bitcoin. Today it's Jane Street, and next week it will be someone else. The real reason Bitcoin is down is that a bunch of people who were long Bitcoin sold their Bitcoin exposure. They sold it via spot, they sold it via unwinding leverage positions, and they sold it by writing calls against their Bitcoin. They sold because of the 4-year cycle and because of quantum fears, and because they wanted to invest in AI startups for other reasons. They're mostly done selling. We're in the process of bottoming. We'll set new all-time highs in the future. Pretty generic. The classic crypto winter, and there will be a classic crypto spring. People want something to blame. I get it. The reality is more and boring than that. The only thing I would say, Matt Hogan, is you can't deny the fact that October absolutely demolished the market. And, we were 1 week sailing high, all-time high. Everything's great. We're going to the freaking moon, everybody. Boom, week after, absolutely one of the biggest liquidations in the history of the cryptocurrency market. Now, did that happen by mistake? We don't feel like it. Probably doesn't feel like it. Caroline would win on the gold pogo stick. Let's go, Caroline. So yeah, Matt Hogan, pretty interesting, right? Now, what's also worth noting here, by the way, is that American Bitcoin, that's right, that is Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, and a couple of other people, just announced their quarterly earnings. We increased the Bitcoin on our balance sheet by 58% quarter over quarter, and mined a 53% discount to the market price of BTC. Decreased difficulty became our friend, allowing for substantial additional mining, while most competitors went quiet. In approximately 6 months since going public on the Nasdaq, we have accumulated over 6,235 Bitcoin and are now the 17th largest public Bitcoin company on earth. Company revenue growth year over year is 159%. So the broader reason for that is, do you honestly believe that the Trump administration is not going to do something big with crypto? They are. They're just, in my view, going to wait. Because at the minute, there would be no reason as to put it in. I think secretly, and we'll touch on a couple of other things in a minute, I think secretly that there is a thought that the stock market will retrace. And I think Trump knows this. And whether that's the AI bubble, private credit, whether it's debt management, whether it's, mid-term, whatever it is, right? I think we're in a world where the stock market does correct. And I think if the stock market corrects, you get a correction in crypto. That could be the bottom of the market. And then I think you get all of this money. Trump's Trump, isn't he? If he's got a company with 6,235 BTC floated on the Nasdaq, that essentially if the price goes up by $10,000, you instantly increase your entire portfolio by over $62 million. He's not going to say no. And he's only got three years to do it. Paul Glance is going to join the Discord. Get involved, my man. Totally free to join, by the way. Link in the description if you want a little bit more, which is our trade bots and our alerts and what else do we have in there? Our full trading guides. Then grab a channel membership. It's about $7 a month. Totally worth it. And you get access to that for free, which is kind of great. So yeah, pretty interesting here. Okay, so let's just summarize this part, because then we'll start talking about what I think is going to create the push down in the market. So broadly speaking, yes, there is bigger optimism in the market. There is certainly things being moved into place that could support a broader market push, okay? That certainly could support a bigger bull run cycle than we've seen. Now, I'm not going to get ahead of myself, as I think many people are, in calling this move in the market like, oh, the breakout, the bottom's in, right? Because I don't believe that to be true. I hope I am not wrong as well with that statement. But there are obviously some other things going on. And this aligns to what I just talked about. But the IMF obviously being the International Monetary Foundation, essentially saying that, look, the buoyant US economy accelerating this year, but warns that risks from tariffs and rising debt. These are some of the things that people simply aren't addressing. And even Trump himself touts the 52 record highs on the S&P 500 rather than how do you pay a $40 trillion debt off, okay? So these are some of the things that I think are going to have to be walked through. But the buoyant US economy is poised to see accelerated growth and lower unemployment this year, with the big federal budget debts representing a growing stability risk, the International Monetary Fund said on Wednesday. So, the fact here is that, look, US employment dropping from 4.5 in late 25 to 4.1 in 26, and inflation falling to the Federal Reserve's 2% target by 2027. The managing director, Kristalina Georgieva, said to the Fed, which cut its benchmark interest rates 3 times in 2025, that they could afford to push it down to around 3.5% from 3.6 currently, but it should hold off on deeper cuts barring a material worsening in the American job market. So what does this mean? It means that the job data that we're going to start to see coming out of the US becomes even more important. And what are some of the indicators that are going to tell us that jobs are going to be favored? Well, PPI, personal, what is it? Why can't I think what PPI is? Personal, no. What is it? Oh my God, I can't even think what it is. Producer price index. Jesus Christ, that was horrendous. So the producer price index is going to tell us what that looks like at a corporate level. Are people paying more to create goods? And if they are, then that could be a sign that tariffs are still washing their way through, which means that people potentially aren't hiring. You also then get the IMF. Now, the IMF has been held as one of the biggest narratives for 26 to push the market higher. Expectations on the ISM is that actually we're going to see a marginal decline in the next one. By the way, the next one coming is Monday. Previous at 52.6, expectations on this one are 52.3. So that would tell us that we had a spike, it would still be deemed as growth, but then it would be slowing. So then what you do get, we get PCE that was slowed, you get jobs data that's coming a little bit hotter. So all of a sudden, then these all start to come in. And this is why I think you get this really cautious view, in my opinion, right? The IMF expressed concern about the federal government's debts, which it sees rising steadily from just under 100% of US GDP last year to almost 110% by 2031. Great, all right? You can do this if you are spending and you are growing your economy. But remember, the GDP got revised. It was 1.7%. It was 4.3 before. So you have a declining GDP. You have declining PPE, all of this stuff. Then if you've got massive debt, that's a fucking problem. Okay, that's a big problem. And if you've got what is the US debt right now? US debt. What is it? The debt dashboard. That's not what I want to watch. Look at this one. The US debt right now is $38.7 trillion, everybody. $38.7 trillion. All right, opening my Discord link. Paul, are you joining under a slightly different name? Hittable, I love your show, man. Thanks for packing a ton of information. Hittable, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I'm glad you like it, bro. It means a lot. It means, like, genuinely, because, yeah, I try and put a lot of effort into. I generally try and, I know some people don't need to, but I actually do need to put work in. And so, yeah, I'm glad you like it, man. But yeah, so look at this. 38.7 in the is 38.7 trillion. So if you end up then going into recessionary data, GDP starts to slow, manufacturing jobs slow down, employment all starts to come down. This is where it becomes a problem, because how the hell do you pay the debt off? You need an economy that's like, which again is why Trump's going to try and run it, essentially, you know, fiddling $2,000 worth of checks to people so they hopefully go and spend it on like mobility scooters or some other kind of crazy shit. But again, this is where it's going to be important to understand what the view is or how they do it, which could play into 2027 as they strategic reserve and buy Bitcoin at the low. Maybe think about that. But yeah, the IMF does give an interesting one. And what could be the catalyst? Well, this. All right. You may have heard people talk about this, the refinancing essentially of debt, right? And this is kind of what Raoul Pal's been talking about. This is what so many other people have been talking about. The 2026 wave. So commercial property debt sector, okay? Essentially known as the debt maturity wall. Now, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, guys, I just locked in, read all this. No. This came across my theory as I was kind of looking at things that maybe are coming up to drive market prices up, market prices down. One of the big things that's just been announced, I don't know if you guys, I don't want to sound facetious or anything, but I don't know if you guys, you know, follow macro stuff. And we try and do a bit more macro here. Scott's notes, a bit more macro on the channel versus I think a lot of people do. But, you know, I've just been seeing loads of this. I don't know if you guys have. The US now has 44% more home sellers than buyers, one of the largest gaps in history. There's been loads of stuff about the housing market, mortgages, all this stuff. Trump himself touting that he is trying to deliberately bring down the, bring down mortgages, etc., which I think is interesting. So what we can kind of see here is that, well, yeah, this whole idea that commercial property is going to be a problem. According to Mortgage Bankers Association, approximately $875 billion in commercial and multifamily mortgage debt, about 17% of roughly $5 trillion outstanding, is expected to mature in 2026, down from about 957 in 2025, represents an estimated 9% decline in maturities year over year. So this is the number they talk about where they rolled it. They essentially delayed it for a year. The maturity pressures reflect the fact that large share of CRE loans originated in 2010 and early 2020s. Many are typical 5 to 10 year terms and are now coming due to tightening lending environment categorized by higher interest rates and generally slower property value growth. If you have more sellers than more buyers, then prices go down. All right, worth thinking about. So the fact that this is kind of happening. 17% of $5 trillion of outstanding commercial mortgages held by lenders and investors is scheduled to mature in 2026. Investors and owners should continue to factor the maturity wall into their real estate strategies, while in scheduled peak of maturities may be receding compared to 2025. A significant volume of refinancing remains through 26 and beyond, and market conditions continue to influence borrowing costs, asset valuations, and lender behavior. This, in my humble opinion, I'm actually going to play it because I think we need to see it. So bear with me, because I think this then ties into a strategic positioning from certain funds. So this is actually some woman from Citibank, right? I don't know who she is, so I apologize. But thoughts on Pyth? I don't mind Pyth, by the way. I don't mind Pyth. Let me put this on loudspeaker. So just do that. Do that. Okay, cool. Okay, right, and then do this. So then, obviously, I can't play the actual screen for you, TikTok, but you can hear it, right? You can hear what's going on. So this is Citibank. Now, remember we talked about Citibank at the start of the stream and that they are sort of diving in and they're sort of, you know, just allowing a little bit more exposure to the crypto market. So let's listen to this and then we'll react afterwards.
So yes, as we move into the world of 24/7 assets like Bitcoin, we definitely need 24/7 US dollar or 24/7 digital money. And all our systems and processes are also being uplifted into 24/7 support. Like we absolutely need that. So in some sense, we are back to the world of Citi never sleeps. So this is the one big idea, to make Bitcoin bankable. Later this year, Citi will be launching our infrastructure that integrates Bitcoin into traditional finance. So we're going to start with core custody and safekeeping capabilities, institutional grade key management and wallet infrastructure. So what does it actually mean to make Bitcoin bankable? 3 things. First, as we said, institutional grade custody and key management infrastructure. We also will be bringing Bitcoin into the fold of the $30 trillion of traditional assets that our clients entrust with us today. So it'll be the same framework that's applied and now brought to Bitcoin. We will be offering our clients a single service model across crypto, securities, and money. What this would mean is we will be feeding the Bitcoin positions to the same reporting channels and frameworks and tax workflows that traditional securities fold into. We've heard from our clients, like they don't want to handle wallets and keys and one-time addresses. So we will take care of those problems.
So I think what's interesting, wrong button. I think what's interesting when you hear her speak, and more importantly, when you understand the little bit that's in there, $30 trillion of asset and customer number, right? $30 trillion, like understand that. That's fucking wild. But the other thing they know is, look, our customers don't care about wallets and keys. We will be the one that custody this. So this is kind of where I get to this whole idea where you've certainly now got banks hedging against potential risk. We know they did it with gold, but I think the gold gravy train is about to run out. And I think that's where we've always said the potential pivot then goes into BTC. Hey, 2bit, I'm in your Discord. Why do, who do I type a message in the Discord? Okay, well, let me have a look. What's your, what is your username? So you basically have to verify. You have to verify that you're a real person. But if you tell me your username, then we can sneak past it. Scosnos, thanks for the go popular, mate. Appreciate it. Thank you so much, buddy. Thank you so much, buddy. But yeah, Paul, just tell me what your username in Discord is, and then I can make sure you're either in or out, bro. In or out. So again, this is kind of where I think all of these come in. So if we just summarize this and try and understand exactly what's going on, my thesis still remains pretty strong in that the sentiment is right now that I believe that crypto and BTC will still push down. Even when you look here on the weekly candles, this is showing, in my view, no sign of a reversal. This is definitely showing signs that we are going to continue to the downside, maybe testing these bottom lows at 64,000 at the short term, maybe breaking down lower as I expect us to do before breaking to the upside. And actually what you then have is all of this kind of corporate money starting to buy as price goes down. They're not going to buy on the way up. They know that. They've walked through 2025 and they saw what happens when you buy the top. You get completely fucked. So you either are in a place where you can buy the top and you have capital to spend, BlackRock, for example, can buy at any point they want, or you have to be strategic. And I think that's what we're going to start to see. Damien, thanks so much, man. I think that's what you're going to start to see. And this is why I think for the next 2 months, we're going to see these kind of volatile spikes, but I do think it's going to push us down. But what I think people are missing here is that the retail investor is dipping their toes back in. We looked at it. Short-term holders are buying again, and then they will end up being underwater. It's the same old playbook that we see every single year. But my personal opinion is there is absolutely going to be a switch, and the switch is going to get flipped. And I think you have to be very much waiting, patient, but dialed in for when that moment happens, because when it does, I don't think it's going to hang around at lower prices very long. And I think they'll push it relatively quickly, and I think they'll push it relatively hard. For example, I could see us wicking to 60,000, spending 24 hours down there, and then boom, back to 70K without messing about. Because what you're going to want there is a gap for institutional investors, banks, hedge funds, whoever, to get in, while then the retail money, got wrecked, and there'll be another liquidation event, my personal opinion. And then I think that's where we sort of see this development. And that's assuming, by the way, that private credit doesn't go boom. The AI narrative doesn't completely capitulate and implode upon itself. That actually Trump can do something to do with the US national debt that doesn't get it above 40 trillion, because when it does, that's going to be bad news as well. And I think all of those things probably end up being a pretty good news story. And equally, those people that are holding crypto right now gives me confidence that, look, they're closer to any monetary policy, regulation, and what you want to call about it. And they are very bullish on where this market's going to go. I think at the short term, I personally am still bearish. I believe the market structure is still bearish. And I believe that the narrative that's being spun is deliberate misrepresentation. But that's my view. So the big question then to you guys is, what is your view? Do you believe, what do you think? Question mark. Are we going lower, or the bottom has already been in? Let me know. You're never bearish. So I've been saying this since 108, 109,000. I am short-term bearish. I'm short-term bearish. I am long-term very bullish. Author wings. Okay, cool. So basically what you need to do, Paul, is literally do /verify, and that will bring that. Basically, that's going to bring you, that'll bring up a code, and then you do /verify and the code. But I can just give you access, in fairness, because I can see your name there. So, but that's what you have to do. There you go. You now got access to our Discord, so welcome. So, yeah, I think we'll go lower. So, well, let's see what, let's see what people think. I mean, we can put a poll on here, actually. Let's do a little poll on, quick poll. So, sad face, we're going lower. Smiley face, we're going higher. TikTok, you got 90 seconds. Let's see what you guys think. Let's see what you think. Got 5. Yeah, I think you should have access to everything now. I think I've just given you. I think I've given you access to everything. So you should see like general news, off topic, memes, YouTube, tax, all that kind of stuff. You should see all of that if you're. Yeah, I see. You're in there now. Wait on 58, but DC here and there. Easy. I think it's a good shout. Again, spot positions are a very different way of looking at the market. You could buy spot positions now at 67,585. It's still going to be a decent-ish position, I think, in 2 years' time. Man, divided. You guys are divided on TikTok. I can't believe that. 50-50. 50-50. We've got 58% say we're going lower, and 42% think the bottom's already in. Interesting. Interesting. I'm just packing my bags now, so I'm not stuck buying in the top in August. If it goes lower, cool, but I'm not passing up on these prices. Look, it's a good shout. I mean, we talked about this the other day. We bought Pepe. We bought some Bonk. Yeah, I mean, you'd argue again, like some of these are good opportunities to DCA on positions that you maybe ended up buying at a price you should have done. So, Pump Fun is on my shopping list. Definitely see that price wick down again that I'm looking at. Lower, highly likely. There you go. Britboy says lower likely. What do you mean short term? What's short term to you? Short term to me is probably like the next 2 to 3 months. So if you imagine it's split up into quarters. So first quarter is, where you just have max capitulation, max nervousness. And the easy way to quantify that is when you look at the fear and greed index. That's the easiest way to see it for me. So I'm probably bearish for the next 8 weeks. Assuming that we get, we don't get anything crazy like a massive military escalation in Iran, Clarity Act gets thrown out, government shutdown again, none of these kind of crazy stuff right now, right? Your Discord says type /verify, press enter. Yeah, so /verify and then press enter. Do you think I need to... Yeah, so it says this. Yeah, it's in brackets as well. So it says type /verify and press enter twice. Oh, I can't even spell. Can't even spell. Anyway, it don't matter. Like, I've got you in. You're fine. You're fine. I mean, the negotiations were bad today. So well, yeah. I mean, I haven't seen a lot about them, but yeah, I did hear that it didn't particularly go well, and that basically Iran have gone absolutely not. I don't know who you think you are. We are, you know, gonna do what we want. Which, yeah, you're right. Could end up in military escalation. I guess. Let's hope that that doesn't end up being the case. Make chart wishing great again. But yeah, so my personal opinion is, yeah, pump's one that's sort of on my shopping list, definitely to keep an eye out for. This is going to be the indicator that we need to keep an eye out for. So things like gold, silver, commodities, oil will be a good indicator. So you get an oil spike, tells us probably people are a little bit nervous about what's going on in Iran. Russell 2000 flipping potentially bearish right now, so that could be interesting on the Russell. So yeah, we'll have to keep an eye out for it. The other one would be Japan. Would be Japan, wouldn't it? You know, Japan starts to boost their interest rates. You know, lots of money is flowing out of Japan right now as well. So, you know, worth noting, by the way, on that. I was going to show you guys something else, but I can't find the chart, which is annoying. It is, where is it? It's not really that. Maybe it's this one. No. Oh, I think I've got it. I think I've got it. That's not the best chart, actually. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Realized profit and loss, short-term holders. I mean, kind of. It's not quite what I wanted to show, but kind of. So, again, you know, when you look at certain elements, so for example, 2021 bull market, this is obviously peak up peak, and then the double top in October 2021. You can see that short-term holders were absolutely crushing it. They were just full sending it. But equally, you can see the big FOMO buys. So, you know, what's interesting here when you look at where we've been, or certainly when you come off 2025, it was just an absolute naff event. I mean, look how bad that is. Just a proper non-event, like, oh yeah, BTC is going to the moon. Like, just terrible. But you can see how many people did buy the top. It's kind of wild, isn't it? So we've got to clean this out. That's when I think we could start to see a little bit more favor in the market. But hence, again, why I think there's going to be some further push down in the market. Further push down in the market. You still got, I think, a lot of short-term holders that are underwater. And I thought we might be guilty. See, like, oh, here we are. Yeah, boy. Got it. So this is the supply held in profit and loss by certain cohorts. So short-term holders in profit, short-term holders. Look at this. The pink is short-term holders in loss. So look how much they're still in loss, by the way. See, look at this. Lots and lots still very much in the loss. So there's more selling to come. There's more selling to come, if you ask me. And I think that's what gives us, that's what gives me the confidence that we end up going down a little bit further. Just my little humble opinion of where we go. I mean, it is interesting price action. You can definitely see there's a desire to not go too low. That, you know, I think these are where you just get corporate entities buying, strategy, Tom Lee, all these kind of people. But, you know, I think broadly speaking, I think it probably does something like that. But then I think when we hit the price point that we want to get to, and that may be, you know, next couple of months or whatever, and then I think you sort of end up with something that does that back up to sort of 70K over the course of probably a week. So yeah. So anyway, that's my view, by the way. 61% do believe you are going lower. Do let me know, by the way, if you got any questions, thoughts, opinions, anything on your mind, do drop them in the chat. I'll try and answer them to the best of my ability. Also, if you haven't hit the like button or hit the subscribe button, I highly recommend it. And don't forget, check out Weex.com. This is our new partner. Actually, their trading platform is really, really cool. They've got loads of cool stuff. We're going to be integrating their bot into them. We've got a giveaway coming as well. So, yeah, check them out. We got some insane bonuses as well. Like deposit $100, get $50 straight back. Again, you've also got some tasks that you can get even more. We're going to be doing a weekly lucky draw, $500 bonus, and 100 winners, as well as deposit-ins and all the rest of it, right? Link in the chat. And also, I don't think I have it in the Discord, actually. I think I need to put it in the Discord. Oh, 2-bit. Let's put it in the Discord. So you can get it in the Discord as well, all right? So, yeah, check them both out. Exchange partners. Oh, here we go. Let's do Weex. And then put that in there. All right. Coolio. So yeah, so check those out. Definitely head over there. Grab yourself some pretty insane sign-on bonuses. Definitely worthwhile. All right. Just run my trading statistics from 2020 until now. 1,800% gain from initial investment with a 63% win rate. Not bad, if I don't say so. That is pretty good, actually. Are you basing that on just number of trades you've won versus number of trades you've lost? Or you basing that on capital? Sarge says, Lafalot just bought 10,000 more XRP tokens today. Nice. Nice. Not the worst shout in the world, I would say. I mean, XRP, what's it at? 139? 139 there on the daily. Look at that. Interestingly, got rejected at the higher range. Wicks down. This Fibonacci's playing out pretty perfectly, in fairness. Bounce on the 618. I'll tell you what, if we lose the 618, we're going to see some pretty interesting pain over the course of the next 24 hours. Good on, Vern. Good to see you, buddy. Welcome in, my man. Hope you're all doing well. Don't forget, if you haven't already hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And if you haven't already tapped the screen on TikTok, then feel free to do so. Like I said, all that social engagement does help out the channel. And again, more importantly, do ask your questions, ask your thoughts. If you're brand new here as well, we'd love to hear from you. You know, what's brought you to the channel? Where did you find us? Who told you to come here? What do you like? What don't you like? Like, I'm all about it. I'm all about it. All right. I want to get to 50,000 subscribers this year. I want to become mainstream, but at the minute, for whatever reason, it isn't. Although I do have, I think fingers crossed. Okay, we're touching wood. If you pray to anybody, do pray to them. In 6 days, the 4th of January, so the 4th of March, all of the strikes from the channel get removed. Hey, what is that? Which is great news. If you guys remember, I got 2 strikes, which is kind of annoying. I had a week's ban. They all drop off on the 4th of March. So fingers crossed. Please, let's get them dropped out, and then hopefully we can be fine. And that may then, the channel's never quite been the same since I got those. Which is good. Easy says, first view today. I like your style. Easy. Thanks, man. I appreciate that, buddy. I appreciate it. XRP to the moon, but not before decline. Yeah, I think everyone's in that place. Wayne, what's going on, buddy? Good to see you. Jason says, okay, last question. If the White House agreed to ban yields on stablecoins today, according to Paul Barron, do you think that kills DeFi like Synthetics, Hyperliquid, and Aster? If they ban yield on stablecoin, no. Not those. They're DEX platforms. So they're making their money from trading. The last I saw, Hyperliquid was doing more than most exchanges from their trading. So if they were to ban yields on stablecoins, you would lose out with people like Tether, Coinbase. You'd get exchanges that couldn't offer it. That's probably where you would get. Don't go. Have you got your notification bell set to all? And if you also have other people set to all, then sometimes you only get like 3 notifications a day. So, yeah, sometimes. I mean, we go live at the same time every single day. But yeah, that's why I think you've got such advocation from like Coinbase and stuff. So, I mean, I haven't seen the Paul Barron stuff, so maybe I'll have to have a look. Yeah, maybe. Oh yeah, Craig puts in the Discord as well. Shout out to you, Craig. Thanks, man. Shout out to you, Craig. Bullish on you, my man. Do you think this was just a little pump to get people? Yes, I do. I do, Sean. It may not dump tomorrow. I actually think it probably dumps next week. We'll see. I mean, look, PPI might come in better. Expectations are 0.3 versus 0.5. So, fine. Next week, you've got ISM. You've got ISM services and manufacturing coming in. Non-farm payrolls, unemployment rate, retail sales, and that's it. Nothing super bullish next week. So, yeah, they may tip the markets, hold the price tomorrow, and then let it sort of push through the weekend, and then I think maybe drop it Monday, Tuesday. I'm looking forward to the next 5 years. I'm going to fill my boots with XRP and BTC. Blind Faith, Mouse! Love it. Congratulations on your freedom. KTOW, half of a small price to pay. I mean, yeah, fair play. If you've met it, bro, love it. Love it. I had to turn my trading info into a divorce lawyer. Bro. Sorry, that's what you admit. I thought you were talking about the fact that you'd crystal traded. No, I hope you got sorted, man. Hope you got sorted. It's going to dump till August. There you go. 55 people believe that we are going lower. That's not that many, actually. I thought that'd be a way more polarizing poll. Get it? Polarizing poll. I thought it'd be way more polarizing than that. So I was gonna look at something else. There was something else that was on my mind that I was gonna look at, and now I can't remember what it was. And it's gonna annoy me that I can't remember what it was. Anyone? Can anyone remember what it was? I can't remember. I can't remember, and that is going to frustrate me. What was I thinking? Charles, do you think the bottom will be in and rough price? So I've got trades set up from between 59,500 to about 62k. That's my price. Could it go lower? Yeah. Do I care? No. All right. Low margin, low leverage, high margin. Do allow me flexibility. I'll even put more margin in as I need to. But yeah, certainly from spot buys around 62,000. Like, how much lower is it going to go? That's the honest answer, isn't it? I mean, one of the big indicators that people are talking about is the 200-week simple moving average as an indicator that people are sort of keeping their eyes out for. We'll have to go out into the weekly candles though to sort of see it. So, when you sort of get to this lower range, which currently sits now about 57,898, historically this has kind of always marked bottoms of the market, generally speaking. So if you look at back here in 2019 before the run to 2021, I just realized you actually can't see that, can you? Here you go, look. So, oops. So yeah, so historically on this particular one, so look, 2019 bear market bottom. Again, this 200-week moving average, then Weex the 2021, and again, you go back to 2017, you see exactly the same as well. So historically, where we see the bottom, we rally to the top. You see the bottom, we rally to the top. So it's pretty much predicted the bottom of most markets for, well, the last 3 years, with the exception of 2022. But I think you have to discount the FTX collapse, which is basically here. Outside of that, it's pretty much nailed it. So, even if you just run off this number here and you say, well, let's go off the 200-week moving average, that still has you around 58,000. So, look, 58,000, fine, whatever. I am literally not going to lose any sleep at that point because I don't think it particularly matters. And at 58k, all right, if I buy it at 62 and it wicks down at 58, fine, whatever. Whatever. That's my opinion. Do you have a time frame? I mean, honestly, it probably depends on the market structure, Bill. And it probably depends on any policy that the Trump administration brings in. That's probably about as good as you get. What's the difference between the SMA and the EMA? Not a lot. One is a little bit more accurate than another one. So SMA being the simple moving average, EMA being the exponential moving average. What you have essentially with the EMA is that it sort of is a bit more reactive to price. So it takes the whole range and it's way more intuitive. The SMA essentially takes off two of the big values on it. So you tend to get a little bit more of a flattening with the SMA. It tends to be just a little bit more sluggish in terms of what you're looking at. My view, I think, lower time frames, you want to be on EMAs, higher time frames, you want to be on simple, you want to be on SMAs, and use a collection of them. That's my opinion. That's my opinion, really. So it's worth doing it. You generally can get a better indication of momentum of price. Where's price going to go with an EMA versus an SMA? I just picked up 453 Ondo yesterday. Nice, Gap Paul. I like it. They say crypto is nothing like stocks, but specifically designed for us to put money in and people take our money, which lowers the crypto value. How true is that? I think you could use that statement to reference a lot of things. I would change that statement a little bit, right? And I would say that crypto is designed to take money from the less educated and naive investor. And many people brandish cryptocurrency as a get-rich-quick scheme. They are the people that the money gets taken. But it isn't. It isn't about just general people. These are just people that take money from others. So for example, if you are getting into the market right now, you essentially are going to sell on those people that are getting into the market when Bitcoin's at 150K. That's how the cycle works. That's how adoption works. So, yes, it's kind of true. Is there a big corporate like Epstein-esque? No, of course there's not. Of course there's not. Will ETH go lower than 1,300? I mean, yeah, you'd probably argue it would be. I mean, assuming that you get a push down in BTC, let's for argument's sake say that Bitcoin goes to 58,000 because that's generally where the 200 SMA is, right, on the weekly. So that would be a decline of about 13%. So you could expedite that on Ethereum and say, well, historically, whenever BTC does 1, Ethereum probably does 3. I think it's probably fair to say. So if we said, well, 60% decline in Ethereum, what does that take us to? It takes us to about, well, I'd say anything between 850 and 1,000 would be the lowest possible case. I mean, if you said, well, ETH is 2 times Bitcoin's negativity, so you said, well, it's 40%. On Ethereum, 40% takes you to 1,100. So yeah, that assuming that Bitcoin gets a pretty nasty correction, which could be, like we said, the AI bubble going pop, or the private credit, or like we talked about tonight, the IMF and the US debt, like they could be the things. They could be the things. 1 month you'll be going from 60k to 90k, 50% gain. That's insane gains everywhere. Yeah, that's 100% live media. 100%. Goya, I hold and I'm here for the long term so that I cause. I'm guessing that's where I real 100%. And also, by the way, it depends what you buy. If people come into this market and go, oh, I saw like Shiba Inu, like my mate said back in 2021, he bought $500 worth of Shiba Inu and he's a millionaire and he drives a Lambo now. And you're like, yeah, well, okay, cool. That's not going to happen this time unless you find some random meme coin player. If you're sat in Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, I mean, you're probably going to be okay longer term. Remember, there is a very interesting Bitwise chart that essentially tells you the longer you hold, the more profitable or the more profitable potential you have when it comes to that. Like I said, previous gains don't and are not to be used to predict further gains, but yeah. It is worth thinking about it in that sentiment. So I don't know if oh, here it is. Yeah. Look at that. Found it. Whoa. So Bitwise released this if time horizons grow, Bitcoin loses fall off. So look, basically the view is that generally speaking, 46.9% chance you lose money if you hold Bitcoin for 1 day. If you hold it for a week, it's 44.3. Hold it for a month, 42.2. Hold it for a quarter, 36.5. Hold it for a year, 23.5. The view is, if you hold Bitcoin for between 1 day and a year, you're generally at a high risk of losing money. Hold it 3 years, 0.7%. 5 years, 0.2%. And if you hold it for 10 years, which, is obviously pretty obvious because of where we are. But the best way to look at this, by the way, look at it on this is Bitcoin on the 12-month. I mean, it's the lamest looking chart in the history of mankind, but with the exception of if you bought back in 2024, I'm looking at Ethereum. Oh my God. Yeah, here you go. Look, BTC. So you could argue with the exception of if you bought last year, then, you always make money. So yeah, hope that helps. Anyway, hope that helps. Lambos all round. Let's hope so. I'm down for it. Man. The trolls are coming in hard on TikTok right now. Exactly. I only have Zebek and XRP. Well, look, I mean, Zebek's an interesting one. I would really, by the way, and I held Zebek for a while. You just got to ask yourself the question, is Zebek a multi-year project? So what have you had? Launched, but an absolutely dumperinoed in 2024, pumped in 2025, currently downtrending in 2026. So again, I don't mind Zebek, by the way. I held it. I sold it, though, because I couldn't get my head around how, annoying this was. I mean, Zebek might be due a little move, If this market stays boring, Zebek could be definitely in for a little cheeky pump. Look at that, off the 0.5 Fibonacci. Yeah, pretty interesting here on Zebek. You might get, I mean, that's a great trading range to have on bots, isn't it? Look at that. You're on 227 and drop it lower at 197. It just buys, sells, buys, sells, buys, sells. Interesting. I have 2 meme coins, just say when peeps. I mean, I hold 2 meme coins. Well, I hold Pepe and I hold Bonk. No yield on stablecoin. Crypto got screwed in the Clarity Act. What? Okay, what's going on here? Why am I missing some of this stuff? Where is this all just been announced? Breaking. Kilmar. Oh, no, that's Kilmar Obrego Garcia. Who the hell cares about him? BlackRock surges. Where is this? Like, where is all this stuff going on about the Clarity Act? Like, I don't see a single thing about it. YouTube chat is working, but I missed the beginning of the show. Ah, bro, come on, Fat Sonic. I miss you being here. Banks earning interest on idle cash, but they don't want customers' deposits earning stablecoin. Reserve balance with Federal Reserve banks. So if you read the latest... Oh, here we go. Is it this? When was this from? February the 26th. Factors affecting reserve balances of depository institutions. Funds that depository institutions hold in deposits at the Federal Reserve to satisfy regulation. If you hold the if you hold the latest F41 release from February, you'll see that reserve balances currently stand at 2.9 trillion, even though there are no reserve requirements. That tells you something. Commercial banks have been becoming very comfortable with receiving hefty interest payments from the Fed for letting their cash reserves sit idly in deposits. Okay. I need to find where this is. I'm just not seeing anything to do with this. You guys are. I don't think AI will burst. I'm using it to learn what it learns. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. AI is great. It's not necessarily AI being a failure. It's the demand on AI data centers that people are putting huge amounts of money in. That's the bit. Think about it. CapEx spending in big companies is through the flipping roof. Like, it's wild on big tech. Like, you look at Meta's CapEx spend. It's insane. Insane. I did not mean to do that. Where is it? 2025 February. Companies are... Here we go. Look, S&P 500 revenue buybacks and CapEx. So companies are spending more of their revenue on CapEx, and so far this hasn't come to the expense of either dividends or buybacks. At the bottom in 2022, companies were spending 5.4% of their revenue on CapEx, and that has now grown to 7.1%. It doesn't seem that much to accept. The revenues per share have increased by 1,300. It's insane. Like, people are literally like just throwing money into CapEx. Like, it's insane. If you look at Meta, oh my God, Meta CapEx spending. So Meta is aggressively increasing its 2026 capital expenditures, forecasting between 115 billion and 135 billion to build massive AI-focused data centers. That's the problem. Well, if we looked at, so think about that. So 135 billion Meta revenue 2025 was, so think this is where it gets like, so Meta platform reported strong full year 2025 revenue of approximately $200.97 billion. Think about that. They're spending $135 billion on CapEx spending. Like, what? So then if we do Meta profits for 2025, and the reason I use Meta, by the way, is because it's pretty interesting. So they made Meta annual gross profit for 25 was 164.791 billion. So let's do net Meta profits for 2025 was $60.4 billion. So they made a profit, which I assume the CapEx spend comes out of, by the way, $60 billion. But think about it. $200 billion in revenue, $135 billion in AI CapEx spending. AI ain't going anywhere, but the CapEx bubble might go kaboom at some point, which is kind of crazy if you ask me. Anyway, with all of that exciting stuff, you guys think that we are going lower. TikTok thinks we're going lower as well. So I guess we're going lower. Let's hope so, eh? Let's hope so. The way you have to look at it is that trading alts for BTC or any time is the right trade. Well, look, also, you got to think of it this way. Buying Bitcoin, cryptocurrency now, or certainly over the course of the next few months, is better than buying it at $150,000. That's just my opinion, right? That's just my opinion. I saw, just really quickly before I go, Elizabeth Warren, I'd seen she'd signed something, right? Elizabeth Warren, what she signed news. I saw something earlier about her signing something. Classic Democrats introduce bill aimed at resurgent IRS. Senate Warren tells Fed and Treasury no bailout for crypto. I thought I'd seen something about it. Anyway, no hype says we're close to the bottom. That buying alts now isn't bad. I mean, look, the trouble with altcoins is that they will still move after BTC. That's why I personally am looking to trade longs. and I'll DCA on some of the bags I've got. You know, like I said, we bought a bit of crypto the other day as well. So yeah, worth thinking about. All right, everybody, let's close the vote down. You guys are bullish. Don't forget, by the way, if you haven't already checked out Weex.com, do check out the link in the description. Head on over there, grab yourself an account if you enjoy trading these markets. We also have a link to MEXC and BitUnix in our Discord. Check both of those out. Again, Weex, though, new partner. We got some insane offers for you guys over there. So yeah, look at the monthly BTC chart and tell me there won't be a green march. That's how I see it. A green march. I mean, you could be right. You could be right. I mean, historically, what's March been? What has March been? Green or red? Currently, I'm pushing artificial intelligence to breaking point to fix it stronger. Oh well, you see, Paul, you're gonna be the reason why we all end up being held by machines. You're these people that are using AI to make AI better. It's like, oh my god, it's a self-fulfilling doom loop. Love from Jordan. What's going on, Amar? Good to see you, man. Welcome in, buddy. So March. So historically, so 2025 was bearish. 2020 was bearish. So let's do bull markets. So 2014 was a bull market, right? 13 was the bull market. Bear market, accumulation, bull market. Yeah, that's right, isn't it? So yeah, bear market. So bull market, bear market. So yeah, so then that was the. So again, March post bull market, bearish, bullish. I mean, you could be right. It's either good. My view is it's one of two things. It'll either be green or it wicks us down to where we want to get to. And then at the end of March, you're like, right, we're here. We're done. And we're set to the upside. Anyway, with that being said, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. We've been live now for an hour and 22 minutes. So again, we'll be back tomorrow night, 4 p.m. Eastern for the last stream of the week. Obviously, I don't stream on Saturdays, but I'll be back Sunday night. So do tune in, 4 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. here in the UK. We'll be live on TikTok and on YouTube as well. So if you can't wait that long, do go and check out some of the videos we've got over there, particularly the Drain Street one we put out earlier. It's also great content on the channel, some educational content, as well as everything you ever need. And if I haven't already said it a million times, the Discord is free. Link in the description, link in the bio. Come and join the Discord. It is a totally free Discord. Some great people in there. I'll never DM you. If you want a little bit more, we do actually have a paid view. Become a channel member here. You get access to our bots. You get access to our trade alerts, trade signals, our 4 free trading guides that we're adding to every single time. Worth it. All right. It's like $7 a month. I mean, people literally piss that up the wall. So check it out. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you guys. We're back tomorrow night. Have a great day. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.